There's this really powerful accounting tool out there that can completely change how a business looks at its own profits. Seriously. It's called activity-based costing, or ABC for short. And in this explainer, we're going to break down exactly how it works step by step. So let me just start with a question for you. Think about it for a second. Do you know what your products really cost? I mean, for real, not just a guess or a ballpark figure, but the actual down-to-the-penny cost. It's a much tougher question than you might think, right?
See, for years and years, most companies use these, let's call them old-school costing methods. And what they did was just spread all the overhead costs, rent, utilities, salaries, like peanut butter across every single product. The problem? That approach can be so misleading. You could be thinking you have a superstar product, but in reality, it's secretly draining your bank account.
All right, so how do we fix this mess? Here's what we're going to do. First, we'll cover what activity-based costing even is. Then, we'll walk through the three main steps: assigning costs, calculating rates, and then applying those costs. And trust me, you'll want to stick around for the final computation. That's where it all comes together.
Okay, let's dive right in. First things first, what is activity-based costing? Well, think of it as moving from guesswork to precision. It's all about getting really, really accurate. So here's the deal. ABC is basically a method for assigning all those overhead costs based on the actual activities that a product or service uses up. So instead of that whole peanut butter thing, we're linking a cost directly to what caused it. It's all about cause and effect.
And this is the perfect way to think about it. Imagine you're out to dinner. You order a small salad, but your friend goes all out, gets the giant lobster, a couple of fancy cocktails. When the bill comes, are you going to split it 50-50? No way. You pay for what you ate. Well, ABC is just applying that exact same common sense to business.
The whole process really boils down to three logical steps. First, we figure out what the main activities are and lump their costs together. Second, we calculate a cost, like a price tag, for each of those activities. And then finally, we just apply those costs to the products based on how much of each activity they actually use. Simple, right?
All right, let's get our hands dirty with step one, assigning costs. This is where we build what are called cost pools.
So here's the game plan. First, you list out all the big activities your business does. I'm talking about things like customer service, setting up machines, doing quality checks, you name it. Then, you take all those indirect costs, rent, admin salaries, all that stuff, and you sort them into cost pools, or you can just think of them as buckets that match each activity. So all the money spent on customer support, it goes right into the customer support bucket.
Okay, so now we've got these buckets of money, all nicely sorted by activity. The next logical question is, how much does it cost to do one of those activities? That's what brings us to step two, calculating the rates.
To figure this out, we need to find something called a cost driver. Now, don't let the name scare you. It's just the thing that makes the cost of an activity go up or down. It's the unit we measure. For example, what drives the cost of customer support? Well, it's the number of customer calls. So the number of calls is our cost driver.
And here are a few more really clear examples. For customer support, like we said, the driver is the number of calls. For setting up a machine, it's pretty obvious. It's the number of times you do a setup or a production run. And for quality checks, it's the number of inspections. See? Each activity has a really clear, logical thing you can count.
And once you've got that driver, the math is actually super simple. You just take the total costs in that activity's bucket. Let's say your customer support pool has $100,000 in it, and you divide it by the total number of driver events. So if you had 4,000 customer calls, you just do the division. Boom, you get a clear rate. In this case, it costs you $25 every single time someone calls customer support.
So now we have a price tag for each activity. We're almost there. The last piece of the puzzle is step three, and this is where we finally connect those costs back to the actual products.
And it works exactly like you'd think. You take that rate we just calculated, our $25 per call, and you just multiply it by the number of times a specific product used that activity. So if product A was responsible for 200 customer calls, well, its slice of the customer support pie is 200 times $25. It's that direct, that precise. All right, so after we've gone through all those steps, we finally get to the final computation. And this is the payoff. This is the aha moment, where everything clicks and you suddenly see things with total clarity. Just look at this example. We've got two products. Product A is complex, it needs a ton of machine setups, but hardly anyone calls support about it. Product B is the total opposite. Super easy to make, but man, the phone is ringing off the hook with customer questions.
And when you use ABC, look what happens. The real overhead costs are worlds apart. $15,000 for product A, but a massive $27,000 for product B.
And this right here is where the magic really happens. Let's compare the methods. With the old peanut butter approach, the company probably would have just split the costs and said, yep, both cost us 21 grand in overhead. On paper, they look identical. But the ABC method tells the real story. Product A is way cheaper to make and support, and product B is way, way more expensive.
I mean, the takeaway here is just so powerful. With this new, accurate information, the business can finally see what's really going on. They were probably charging too much for the easy product, product A, and, this is the really dangerous part, charging way too little for the difficult resource hog, product B. But now they know.
And that brings us to the final question, really. Once you have the real cost, the true cost of everything you do, it changes the entire game. So what comes next? Do you adjust your prices? Do you maybe stop selling a product that you now know is a loser? Or do you try to make it more efficient? The data gives you that power. The real question is, what's the next big decision you would make?